Welcome everybody to the third period, the premier and only NBHL podcast. I am your host, Darren Basmajan. With me, as always, to my right, or the left of your screen, Rehan All-Star War. Because you're All-Star War and you're an All-Star. Well, have you ever been an All-Star in this league? That's a good question.
In this league? No.
Oh.
Do they have All-Stars in this league?
Yeah.
I won a best captain once. I don't know if that's anything.
Congratulations on that one. Hold on to that one. And we have my man, the Bulgarian brute, Vasil Neshev. I'm stealing that from wrestling, so I hope you don't mind. I'd say it with love, though. With love.
Thank you, Darren.
Vasil, welcome back. As always, a pleasure to have you guys here. We're going to break down, as we promised to you guys last week, the next three divisions on our list, which is I, J, and K. We're going to do things a little bit differently because the feedback we've been getting so far is that people seem generally happy with the work we've done, but at the same time it's a little bit dry. We're going one to each team, and sometimes there's just not much to say because teams are new or they're struggling a bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of look at the overall picture of these individual divisions, talk a bit about the top teams, dark horses, some of the best players, kind of give you an overall vision of each division where they're at this far along in the season. Let us start at the I League. We'll start off. I'll give you guys a brief run through of the teams in the division. First of all, sitting pretty at the top spot are the Crazy Canucks. They're 3-0 as of right now. So they're tied with 6 points at the top with Parks and Lex, a group of guys that I know very well. They're 2-2-2 though. They've played a lot more games than everyone else. Moving on down, we have the Gold Diggers. Great name, I love it. They're at 5 points. The Silver Plows, 5 points. Deep Rock at 3 points. The Papashangos, another great name, a team I'm rooting for officially as of right now. They're at 2 points. And Fat Roy, all caps lock, with 1 point bringing up the rear. Let's start off here. Ray, I'll start with you. Tell me about the top teams. Tell me a bit about the story of this division, or this league. I have to start getting used to that. The I League, and where we stand as of right now.
The I League obviously has 6 points, so you're going to have to be really careful with the roster if you want to bring in some top players. Looking at the top of the division, the story of the division is, I think it's a lot of speed because a lot of younger guys are coming in, and mostly when you notice these divisions, when the young guys come in to mix with the veterans, because you're not going to see a lot of big names. So that's what you're going to see, speed and experience. Crazy Canucks, actually it's really weird because Crazy Canucks have been in the league for a while. Mm-hmm. They've been a great team, so it seems to me what they have done is probably taking their best players that fit under the cap and probably bring in the other guys that are supporting role players. So far what I'm seeing in this division is they're 3 games played, they're 3-0. So they're ahead of the bunch. Can they go 13-0? I don't know, but they have all the makings for it. I mean, Jeremy Savoie, regarded as probably one of the better players in the league. He alone can take over games. I played against him. Vasil played against him. He can tell you, top player. And then obviously Francois Gosselin is another supporting player with him. So far what I'm seeing in the top team, top would be Crazy Canucks. They've gone far in higher divisions before, so I can't see why they wouldn't do that in this division.
Vasil, you agree?
Yeah, I really have to agree with him here. They've actually played in higher divisions mostly. I've never seen them this low. Even in the winter and the fall, they usually play in the B, maybe the D. I guess that they lost, maybe not lost, but to play in such a lower league, they would have to play without Eric Paquin, which is a 4-point player. Allows, like you said, Jeremy Savoie, who usually complements Paquin, to basically show what he can do alone. They also have the Belzil brothers, goalie, very good, Joel. He's played in the higher tiers. He's won Norris trophies. Vezina trophies, and Jonathan, his brother, has won Norris trophies. So I'm not surprised to see them 3-0 right now. And like Rayan said, wow. I mean, they could maybe go 13-0. I wouldn't be that surprised. It's rare to see a team do it, but in this case, I see them being a little bit above every other team in this division.
Well, we'll definitely have to follow about that. Like we said, there is a cap system in place, and sometimes it works perfectly, and sometimes you get a team that can fit people under, and it seems like they've done a great job. Rayhan, tell me, who's the best? The most likely team to be a contender to the Crazy Canucks as of right now?
It's tough to say because there are a couple of good teams. Now, you mentioned Parks and Lex, mm-hmm. and guys that are really, mainly ice hockey players, athletic guys. Bisharas, 3 of them are definitely on this team. And then you have the goalie James Gregorio. That's another thing that's, you're looking at a guy. So I think if there's a team that can contend with the Crazy Canucks, you need a team like this that also has guys that have played in the higher divisions, has a goalie that can hold his own, and he'll need to hold his own against the offense of Crazy Canucks. So, I mean, I know it's in the standings like that, but I would say if there's one team that can contend or give them any run for their money, would probably be Parks and Lex.
I agree with most of that. Basically,
What part don't you agree about?
well, they changed their name, so they're not. I feel like they haven't been formed as a group yet. They've come under different Dirty Birds. I figured they played as before.
Yeah, Parks and Lex.
Yeah, Marco Rotano is on there. He had his brother Carl. They're really athletic, like you mentioned. They also, I believe, they play flag football. They use their speed to their advantage. Now they are at the top of the standings now with more games played, as we mentioned. 2-2-2. I think the reason they're 500 right now is because of the name change, and basically they're gonna gel and get the momentum they had from previous seasons further on. But as far as athleticism, they could definitely match up with Crazy Canucks.
Well, look, again, we're not going to talk too much about other leagues, but I do know these guys, and these guys know me quite well as well.
Intimately.
Let's
add that.
Let's put it this way. They're members of the Darren Basmajan fan club, and we'll leave it at that.
Yes.
But obviously, I do wish them well. So those are the top two teams, obviously in the standings as well. There's kind of a middle pack of teams here with the Gold Diggers and the Silver Plows. If you had to pick one, let's go to Vasil here. If you had to pick one of these two teams that could maybe contend or compete, is there anybody that jumps out at you?
Well, Silver Plows have been around for a very long time, and they're still undefeated this season. Veteran guys like Jason Urquhart, who've played with them since the start, I believe, is there, and he's doing really well statistically this year. They also have Ryan Knopp, who I played with them last summer, I believe, and he's doing really well as well. And Morris Capelli, who I noticed was there for a very long time. They, like I said, undefeated, and these guys are veterans, so they might have a harder time against the faster teams like Park and Lex and Crazy Canucks. But as far as the Gold Diggers, they got one of their big guns back, Sebastien Bertin, who I'm expecting to be one of the top scorers in the league, and he's already started on fire this year. If he could carry that team, along with a bit of support from Fred Guilbeault and Dan Derry, they'll be in the mix with Silver Plows and probably chasing or giving Crazy Canucks a hard time.
Ray, you agree with that analysis more
No,
or less, or do you have anything?
Well, I definitely do agree, and I mean, I would say the one team that would stand out for me would probably be Silver Plows.
Okay.
Is because what Vasil just said, they have played in the league for a while, so experience is there. Sometimes what ends up happening too is that one thing that they've always been known for, and if you played against them, you can definitely attest to this, is they're a team that play physical. And I mean physical to the point where you just want to get into sometimes in a very angry mood, and that's to their advantage. I mean, a lot of teams that play physical can throw off teams that are fast, can slow them down, can frustrate them. So, will this work to their advantage? Vasil just mentioned that they haven't lost yet.
Yeah.
Maybe as the season wears down and they keep that physical play up, I think they can maybe, frustrate a few top players, and who knows from there.
Now, when you say physical, are you saying physical but dirty, physical but clean, just like on the edge, sometimes goes over? Or?
I would say physical, borderline dirty, but physical, efficient in the sense that you're not going to go near the goalie.
Okay.
They're going to make you, a lot of teams like to crash the net and everything. You're not going to go near the goalie. If you go in the corner, go carefully. But see, look, and if you're a top player, I'm sure Vasil can tell you, if someone's always after him, slashing him, trying to go after him, you think twice about going near that player again, because, you're thinking to yourself, okay, you can have the ball, I don't mind. So that's what I mean, like, that's efficient hockey, and that works in their advantage.
Well, unless the refs start calling the penalties.
Unless.
So, I mean, those are kind of things that I guess you'll see how the season goes and what kind of reputation they develop, but it's something to keep an eye on. Bringing up the rear, we've got Deep Rock, Papa Shangos, and finally Fat Roy. Any of these teams that you could see kind of making that leap, or any reason in particular you could see them at least making a strong push as the season wears on?
I'm definitely a big fan of Fat Roy. Been in the league for a long time.
Yeah, I recognize their name from a long time ago too.
A lot of veterans on the team. Yeah. Another team that plays physical, but intense physical. And Jeremy Sakafidis, I think his name. He's one of the better players right now. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Costa, one of our league managers, is usually involved with the team.
Right.
And I think he is involved this year as well. Now, last year, when I said last year, what I mean is in the winter division, I believe, they went to the finals, but they lost. So, again, another team that's been far, has had a lot of success. It's really unfortunate they're 1-3 right now, but I think if you look at a team like that, with that experience they have, their physical play, and then also you have guys like Chris Onofoli, who's another good, not role player, I mean, he's a higher level player playing with them. if I could pick one team from the bottom of the cellar that could move up, it could be probably Fat Roy.
Vassal, do you agree, or do you have?
I was actually going to
else?
mention Fat Roy as well, just because I've played against him so many times. I'm sure all these guys will recognize me. Paulo Elizardo, Terry Panagakos on defense, Chris Fiore, Chris Papadatos, Jimmy Pantelis. These guys have played together a very long time, and they always seem to be together as a group. So I'm surprised to see them at 0-3-1. And I've also had the chance to play against them 2 summers ago, where they finished 8th. Made it all the way to the final and lost in the mini game. So starting slow isn't a big issue for them, and I assume that once they actually get going, they're going to give a few of the top teams a run for their money.
They should be named as Team Greece Juniors.
Well, here. So what I was going to say is I'm very impressed by both your analyses. I don't know what the plural of analysis is, but your breakdowns of these teams. But what's most impressive to me is that you guys didn't screw up any names in that last batch, because apparently last week we were botching names left and right, especially the Greek names. So
I practiced the names before I got here.
oh, congratulations. So far, I'm impressed. Let's move on. Once we get down to J and K, we'll see if that. Before we leave this division, though, we did want to spend. So we talked a bit about the teams. Talked about the top teams, dark horses. X factors. Give me just some names that stand out for you guys. You think they're going to be the difference makers in this season for their teams? It could be a forward. Could be a defenseman, could be a goaltender, just someone that jumps off the page when you see this that you think, oh, this is the guy that's going to make a difference here. Rayhan, let's start with you.
It's really tough, though, because there are quite a few in this league.
Give me a few.
You don't
have to give me one.
Right off the bat, I'm going to go with Jeremy Savoie.
Right.
I have, like I said, I played against him. Vassal has played against him. A really tough player to play against. And that's a guy I think that you don't want to play against. And, you know, again, if you're a team that likes to play physical and dirty, this is the guy you want to target. Because if you could take a player...
Just painting a giant bullseye on the poor guy's back.
But that's what it is. I mean, if you look at some of the top NHL teams, they always try to eliminate that one star who can, you know, if you can take that guy out, that's it. And I mean, if you eliminate him out of the equation, the whole team falls off balance. So that's one guy, and I've had to give him another one with him. Would probably be a goaltender. It would be probably Chris Cameron. Okay. And I don't know if he's sparing with them or not, or if he's full-time. Even as a spare, he does qualify. So goalies are a big part of this league. We know that. I mean, they're so important and vital to the defense. So I think for me, Jeremy Savoie and Chris Cameron, probably if they both play enough games, the leading candidates for MVPs.
All right.
Okay. I'm going to name you one of
them. Give me a couple more.
Yeah, okay. So Chris Cameron, as you mentioned, for the Gold Diggers, could be a gigantic factor if he's there. However, the bigger factor for that team, I think, would be Sébastien Bertin. Like I said, he came back from an injury. He's a really young kid and really, really talented. So if he really brings the season he can, he's going to, in my eyes, going to be the top forward in the league. Defensively, Crazy Canucks are really well-rounded with Jeremy Savoie, like you said, being the top gun. He's really fast, and I think his speed is his biggest asset. But I'm going to actually go with Jonathan Belzile, who could easily in this division, I think, win the Norris. He controls the game. He's a really big shot, and he's actually a really big guy. He's like 6'4" maybe, and he takes up a lot of space. So that's my forward, my goalie, and my defense for that division.
Takes up a lot of space. Are you calling him fat?
No, he's really skinny, really tall.
All right, that's good. I'm just messing with you guys. All right, so I-League. Final thoughts before we move on to the J. Anything that you want to say before we move on? It's okay if you don't. It's all good.
I really think that if in the first round of playoffs you have a Fat Roy versus Crazy Canucks matchup, I could really see Fat Roy pulling an upset here. I'm not even saying that. I've seen both teams play, and their style of game, Fat Roy that is, if they can somehow get that matchup, I can see them winning first round.
I agree. I think it's Crazy Canucks division to lose.
All right. Well, we'll see how that goes. That's it for I. Let's move on to J.
You got to recycle there, and this is not cool.
Who says I didn't throw it in like hell? It's on the floor.
Unbelievable.
Jeez.
We're go green here, my friend. Go green.
Yeah, okay. We're surrounded by like AstroTurf and like rubber things putting fumes in the air that'll kill us all. J League, guys. Let's jump into it here. We got at the top spot with 8 points. We have the Kodiaks sporting an undefeated 4-0 record. We've got the Outlaws at 3-0-1, also undefeated with 7 points. We've got the Huge Wash-Up. Is that it? That's right.
Huge Wash-Ups.
Huge Wash-Ups, also at 3-0-1, 7 points. We got the Beer Caps at 3-1 at 6 points. Ghost Attack, which is a team name I know quite well. I've played against them a few times. They're at 1-2 right now, so 2 points. Dead Last are actually not dead last. They're 1-2 with 2 points. The Les Castors, played against those guys too. Don't like them very much, but they're a very good team. 1-3 with 2 points. And finally, the Scorpions bringing up the rear at 0-4, 0 points. It seems like there's a big gap between the top
Yes.
the top half and the bottom half.
Definitely.
But let's start with it here. Vasil, tell me a bit about the top teams that stand out.
That's what I was going to mention. It really seems to be split down the middle with four top teams and four bottom teams as it stands right now. Kodiak's 4-0, incredible goal differential. A name I haven't seen before, but is putting up some really impressive numbers this year. Michael Van Gameren. He seems to be leading the charge, and with a playmaker like Chris Clément, it's not that surprising. But I'd really like to see how he plays to see why he's putting up these kind of numbers. I'm assuming he could be a catalyst for them all year, and I'm also assuming they have Mike Clément, Chris's younger brother, on that line with them. They're looking really good so far, obviously. Offensively, I see them being matched with all three of the other top four teams: Outlaws, Huge Washups, and Beer Caps. A lot of big names for those guys in a three-point league. Teams that have been around for a while and really strategically selected those points. For Outlaws, Stéphane Trudel, amazing player. Used to play junior AAA. I saw him in the park when I was a kid, and I was really impressed with this guy. He's put on a little bit of weight since, so his mobility hasn't. Yeah, but it's not his mobility that makes him good. It's how he shields the ball, and he never gets tired. The guy can play the full game. And every season, very impressive numbers. And that team captained by JF Yupe, who sets him up. I mean, they know how to find each other with their eyes closed. And a good supporting cast as well, with players that have come up the last few seasons. Julien Daou and David Corbet, also really good numbers this year.
Ray, we talked, Vasil spoke about the Kodiaks, the Outlaws. There's another two teams that are still quite high up in the rankings. There's Huge Waste and Beer Caps. What can you tell me about these guys?
Beer Caps, I mean, they have probably a player in the league that we'll probably discuss later, maybe one of the top players, Jesse Goodshell. Again, another player. You got to understand that when you come to these kind of divisions, because again, Jay is 3 points. So these kind of players now, like Jesse Goodshell, they're usually like 1 or 2 player teams most of the time. Now, I'm not calling anybody out. They're saying you're not good.
Sounds to me like you're saying the rest of the team is garbage.
No, they're very good.
It's at Rayhan MBHL or at MBHL Rayhan?
I forgot.
It's on the screen right now. Also on the screen, by the way, it says under my name at MBHL Official, but that is not my Twitter handle. I do not have a MBHL Twitter handle, so if you have complaints about me, feel free to send it there. It's just not getting to me. Sorry. Anyways, continue.
So continuing Jesse Goodshell and Marc-André Element.
I love that. That's a great name.
Element.
Way to go.
So
I know he has no choice in it. It's his name, but I'm just saying I like that.
That's
name.
what it is for those guys.
Hey, good names. Look, this is Mike Van Gameren already. He's MVG for me. That's it.
That's what I was gonna say.
The crowd's gonna be chanting MVG. I didn't even know this. How could I steal it if I didn't know you were gonna say it?
You knew I was gonna say it.
How could I know? What? Can I read your mind?
I think you can.
If I can, then I shouldn't be doing this job. I
need that Magneto helmet.
Yeah, that's it. It's not a bad idea. You know what? Next week, come with a Magneto. Whenever we play against each other this season, if you lose, Magneto helmet. Okay.
Got it.
Moving on.
So anyways, Jesse Goodshell and Marc-André Element, one of the best duos in this league. 1-2 punch, they're up there in stats as well. So when looking at Beer Caps, these are the guys I think that probably are bringing it every game. Now, when it comes to from there, like I said, Ghost Attack, hardworking team. Might not be the most skilled, but they work hard every game. And again, I don't know how much that can translate down the road into playing against top players like Jesse Goodshell, like Marc-André Element, like we said, MVG, like Chris Clément. When those guys kind of play, eventually hard work kind of doesn't really match up. So looking at the bottom of this division, I would say you're looking at probably a team like Beer Caps, who's probably, bottom of the division, they're 3-1.
Yeah.
But they're middle of the division, sorry, 3-1. But they seem to be the team that maybe might make a, look at it. It's 8-7-7-6 in terms of points. So
yeah, they're still fairly close. Yeah, it's a one game separation.
After that is Ghost Attack, dead last. I think they're kind of.
Now, what about Huge Washups? What jumps off the page for me is that they have an Armenian guy, and we stick together. Norair Kulian, it's the only time it'll be pronounced properly, probably in league history, so I'm giving him that. But Vasil, is there anything about this team?
Yes, this division seems to be a tandem division. All these guys we're mentioning so far, duos: Steph Trudel, Jeff Yupe, Mike and Chris Clément, Marc-André Element, Jesse Goodshell. This one have their own, Norair Kulian, and
nice.
Alex Haddad.
Well done. All right, so 2 people now pronouncing it right. I like it.
Alex Haddad, who captains the team. Those 2 together, they've been playing since they entered the league together in 2011, I believe, for Team No Names. They played together the first time, and Norair won the scoring title, and they really complement each other well. So as far as the top 4 teams, it all seems to be duos. They also have a guy we spoke a lot about, Chris Cameron, who's I think going to be one of the big X factors in this division because he elevates his game when he plays against the top scorers. So if there's those games where he could shut down those duos, he could still a game for the huge wash-ups.
How many teams does this guy play on? I feel like I've heard his name every single week here. All right, moving on. That's not a bad thing.
No.
If Justin Manassa ever moves away, at least I know we got someone we can call. Okay, so that's the top half. Let's take a look at the bottom half here. If you guys have no objections, even if you do, I'm running the show. First of all, we've got Ghost Attack, then Dead Last, Castor, and Scorpions.
Yeah.
Rayhan, what jumps out from which of these 4 teams could maybe be a dark horse going down the line?
You know what? It's going to be tough, but I think if you have to pick a team, I'm going to go with Dead Last. Because, again, a team, in my opinion, I always believe it's always from the net forwards, from the back forward. So, in goalie, they have John Sanadukis, and he's regarded as probably a goalie that could give Chris Cameron a run for his money in this division alone. So, I would say if you're looking at a team that might turn it around, can have a goalie like this that would maybe get hot. And if he starts to, catch some fire, I would say this is a team maybe they can turn around based on the fact that they have a very good goalie.
All right, so you've got Dead Last not finishing Dead Last. Vasil, if you had to pick one from those 4 teams that could maybe make a run and be a dark horse.
Yeah, I've played against all of them except Scorpions. I'm going to have to agree with Dead Last big time because it's actually a very similar makeup of the roster makeup as Fat Roy, Kostas Zafiropoulos, Terry Panagakos, Paulo Elizardo, Teron Fernando.
He's knocking them out of the park tonight.
I've played these guys so many times that
yeah.
I'm sure a few of them will recognize me. But again, they're only 1 and 2 right now, and it's a tough division. But they played together so long that they're gonna gel, and I know that I assume they're gonna make the playoffs and potentially with the goaltending, like Rayhan mentioned, give a top team a run for their money.
All right, so no love for Ghost Attack, no love for Castor. I will say Castor, if it's the team that I played against in the past, some attractive girlfriends there. That's always a plus in my book. And Scorpions, I'm sorry, it's they're 0-4, but things can turn around. So we'll see if you guys are very strong on Dead Last. We'll see if any of those other 3 teams can also step up. That's what the name of the game is. If you don't like it, you can always just shut these guys up, man, and send them messages at
Rayhan.
MBHL?
Yes.
Underscore or no?
No. Actually, no, I didn't put underscore.
No underscore.
I wanted to put it, but...
we browbeat you not into putting it. At Rayhan MBHL, and is it at Vasil MBHL or flip? At
right.
Vasil? Okay.
At Vasil MBHL.
So if those 3 teams, these are the guys you wanna attack.
Attack, yes.
Yeah, troll them.
No spamming, please.
Yes, plenty of spamming, as long as it's not mine. Finally, guys, let's talk about X factors in this division. Names that you think that will be the guys we're talking about at the end of the season when award season comes around. Vasil, let's start with you.
With so many big offensive weapons, I think it's going to come down to the goaltending if guys could step up enough times to win enough games. Chris Cameron again, and I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, but John from Dead Last.
Let's see where John.
Yeah, I don't have him on my list.
Okay,
I can't read
so
it
then
off.
I can't help you there. Rayhan.
Story of the J. Let's go with Kodiaks. Maybe trying to allow more goals. They've allowed 1.25 goals per game.
Hold on, we're talking MVPs for X factors.
I know, but I'm saying let's first focus on.
No. Let's
Okay, we'll go with
give me
your-
X factors.
We'll go with your X factors. I have to go with Chris Cameron. It's really tough to go with because, like Alex, as Vasil mentioned, it's about duos. So it's tough to pick one guy because one's feeding the other, so on and so forth.
All right.
So I gotta go with Chris Cameron. Although I don't like the idea of picking players that are playing in higher division as being X factors in the lower divisions, but you have to go with Chris Cameron. I think he's gonna be lights out for his team.
Okay, now final thoughts on this league, on the J League, before we leave this one and move down to K.
I just don't know how teams are gonna find and solve Kodiaks out because they've only allowed 5 goals in 4 games. Now, mind you, that there's still a lot of time for teams to figure them out, but I think this is a defense that needs to get solved a little bit better. So I think that if they are keeping their defense at this pace, I mean,
5 goals allowed is incredible.
5 goals in 4 games.
Yeah.
So I don't care what your duo is. Their defense is kind of like really, and not like I said, it's tough to find teams in any division that have this kind of a spread, 22-4, and 5 against. So I think
4 games.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think the story for me would be these guys and their defensive prowess as well as their offensive ability to score.
But for me, it's if there's one thing that can neutralize that kind of offense, it's going to be beer caps.
Okay.
He mentioned a little bit before, but they play with their size. They're really rough and not dirty by any means, just intimidating. I could think of big defenseman Phil Papagiannopoulos. he'll get under your skin. No matter how good you are, no matter how fast you are, he's a little bit less mobile, but he'll make sure he knows you're there. And their captain, Stacey Alexander-Osborne, is a really good complement player to that duo, and I think with their experience and their physical play, they could maybe neutralize some of the bigger weapons in this division.
All right, well, we'll have to see how that pans out. And with that, we are done with the J. Okay, I was afraid it was going to fall back on the table. I'd look really bad.
That would look bad.
All right, so finally, we're at K now. Rolling right along. Got a lot more teams here. Start off with the St. Louis Savage. They're at the top of the K League right now with 8 points. Mighty Ducks, 8 points. Maguire's Monsters, 6 points. Used Parts, 5. The A's, 4. I'm very curious if they're named after the now defunct team that played on Lackady, my ice hockey team when I was in Pee Wee, the A's. I'm not sure. If it is, much respect. The Mighty Bears, Les Black Clouds, Benchwarmers, Tasmanian Devils, Fury, Lions, Victoria's Secret. That's making our way up from the top to the bottom right now. Let's jump right into it. Who are your top teams right now, Vassal?
A few of them I don't know. St. Louis Savage I've never seen really. I've never had the chance to play against them. And none of the names really I could recognize except Emmanuel Trakakis, who's usually a goalie, and I don't think he's playing in nets for them right now. So they seem to be at the top right now, but I can't say that much about them. However, Mighty Ducks, they kind of merged teams. I know the Mighty Ducks played against the Beer Runners 2 summers ago, and from what I noticed, they added some of the top guns from the Beer Runners, and Ryan Gould, Ryan Labrie, and Robbie Moss. So I've actually had the chance to watch them play once or twice, and they've been lighting teams up with just their playmaking ability. I think they're going to maintain this 4-1 record and finish definitely at the top. And as far as top contenders, other than that, there isn't much else that stands out.
All right, Ray?
Well, I think St. Louis Savage is definitely a team you have to name in there. St. Louis, I know you're going to ask me to do homework again, so I thought I'd come prepared. It's for Saint Laurent.
Okay,
Savage,
good. I'm on board.
Yeah.
All right.
So
although I'm from Cartierville, we're close enough. We're like neighbors. We don't,
I'm from Saint Laurent, so I appreciate that.
yeah, well, now I like Saint Laurent less, but okay.
So Saint Laurent Savage.
All right, that's good.
And actually, their goalie is Emmanuel Trakakis.
Yes.
And he's one of the reasons why they're so successful. Apparently, he's getting a barrage of shots in about the games they played so far, and he's holding the fort down. 4-1 is an impressive record. I know a couple of guys on the team, a couple of buddies of mine. One being Roman Me, another being Shara Kudus. Then obviously you have Ryan Brian Venera, and I don't want to say his last name. Let's just say Venera P. We're gonna go with Venera P. I don't want to massacre someone's last name, or so. A solid team, but from what I understand is it's a newer team, like maybe 2 to 3 seasons, and more speed. Like basically a lot of fast guys with a really good goalie and a little bit of hockey intelligence.
It's a pretty good recipe.
It is.
It's a pretty good recipe,
especially in K, which is 2-point league. So that's good. Now Mighty Ducks, I think Vassal pretty much recapped them well. Maguire's Monsters, it's from what I understand. If you look at their stats, and I know people can see the stats, so we shouldn't always bring them up, but they're mainly a defensive team, so they pride on defense. They've only scored 11 goals, so that means they only have one guy in the stats here. You look at his name is Stefano Ionero.
Yes, played for the Potatoes for a long time. He's
right.
A very, very good offensive weapon to have.
And that's the thing. He's probably their offensive weapon, probably their only go-to guy for scoring. So that, I don't know, could be troublesome for them down the road, because you can't always rely on defense. Eventually you're going to have to put in a few, but so far it's working for them. They've only allowed 10 goals in that amount of game, but their recipe is play strong defense with a good goaltending and have one scorer, and so far it's working for them. So I don't know how long they can keep that going.
Plus they're coached by Pierre Maguire.
Yeah, well, when he can spare some time.
It may or may not be true, but I'm starting the rumor now, so if you heard it here, it's got to be the truth. So Pierre Maguire is behind the bench, sometimes wandering on the ice, interviewing random people.
Hopefully, maybe they're better off without him there. So.
Asking people where their hometowns are, or what tractors they drove when they were 5 or whatever. Anyways, moving on. Used Parts. So those are teams with 8 points, 6 points. Then we've got Used Parts, the A's again. Rayhan, here's your homework. Find out if it's from Lackady or not. But moving towards more the middle, we have a bunch of teams with 4 points. Used Parts, A's, Mighty Bears, Les Black Clouds, Benchwarmers. Any of these teams that jump out for you, Vassal?
Yes, 2 in particular, Les Black Clouds and Benchwarmers. Les Black Clouds are a pretty clever name. From what I understand, firemen.
Okay.
A friend of mine, Alex Lutfi, and several friends from high school are on that team. I'm surprised to see them at 2-2 right now, because if they're firemen, they should be really athletic, right?
Well, at the very least, their cardio is probably ridiculous,
right.
And they're probably unbelievably strong, but it doesn't mean they know how to swing a stick.
Or maybe they have a calendar, too.
Well, mind you, they probably know how to swing an axe. So you know what? I love you guys. They Black Clouds.
Well,
Keep
a
it
mix of Alex Lutfi by himself offensively is a gigantic advantage in a division like this. So if you have a bunch of guys that could run and a guy that could put the ball in the net, it could be dangerous. So I would expect him to get a little bit better than 2-2. And bench warmers I've played for the last 4 years. Usually lead them in scoring. This year, obviously not, but they lowered
because you're gone, right? That's it.
Right.
Everybody else is just maybe they were just relying on you too much. Let's put it that way.
No, they've actually. I mean, they're 2-3 right now, but that so far has been scheduling issues. We've had very little guys show up, 7, 8, the first 2 games. So they were close games that they lost just because they didn't have enough gas. But Gabe Kaplansky is having a heck of a season. I believe he's leading the league in scoring. Andy Benson's having a breakout year. Is using his legs like crazy, and he's creating a lot of offense. And they have a good defensive core with one of the best captains in the league, Michel Gruszkowski, and Frank Zuffo, who's, I want to say now, might have a head start on the Norris Trophy this year.
All right, well, that sounds like a pretty strong team. Rayan, from that middle of the pack, any other teams that jump off for you, or basically Vassal covered it all?
I think A's. I think I'll go with A's, under Gerard. Thomas Mann. Again, a team that you could call a bit of a dark horse. I mean, they're a team that maybe not doing as well as they should, but have all the tools that they should be doing better than they are. And from what we understand, we asked Ron as well about them a little bit, and it seems like they're a team that, again, we just mentioned Fat Roy, one step ahead of them, in a sense that they're going to give a lot of teams a run for their money if they finish, let's say, a little bit lower and play our top team. So let's say if they play St. Louis Savage in the first round, there's a team that you don't want to face, So they can. I think they're a team that's going to get hot at the right time. They're going to probably start to get better, maybe in weeks 8, 9, and 10. So I think A's for me will be the team that kind of stepped out, and maybe besides that, I would say bench warmers, as Vassal mentioned, but he already gave you the reasons why.
Perfect. All right. Well, bringing down under that 4-point mark, we've got the Tasmanian Devils, Fury, Lions, and Victoria's Secret. Another good name. Any of these teams that you could see jumping up? Obviously, there can be some that you might not know as much about. So if they jump up later on, there's nothing you could really do to predict it. But from what you know on these teams, who do you see maybe making an impact as the season progresses?
I'm gonna go with Lions.
Okay.
And Lions, to me, again, they have the same recipe as Maguire's Monsters. Is that they have one strong forward in John Shukri. He's a higher division player. Create a lot of offense. Has played with Viela last season as well. So one strong player that can create a lot of offense, and then their goalie is Shoaib Hassan Sheikh, also playing in a higher division this year for the team that I play with as well, Asian Express. So again, a goalie, strong defense, and one forward. If that's working for Maguire's Monsters, they can maybe use that same recipe and work for themselves as well. So.
Well, I mean, when you're in a low point total league, right? There's only so much you can do, right? There's not you don't have that many household names at your disposal. So as long as you can find some key guys in the key positions, build with depth, I guess that's the best way to go about it. How about you, Vassal?
I'm gonna agree with Lions. I watched them beat Benchwarmers the first game, and it's a similar recipe to Maguire's Monsters as well as Black Clouds, and I'm sure there's a few other teams in there. Maybe Fury with Lindsay McLean, where they have like the one big forward and everyone else just tries really hard. They ran the entire game. They only had 7 guys at Benchwarmers, but I mean, it would in that case it might not have even mattered if they had 2 full lines because they had a lot of energy. I expect them to do better than 1 and 3 later on. They're going to win a few games just by grit and heart and giving all that energy that they have.
All right, well, it's that time for MVP predictions. Rayhan, give me MVP/X Factors, guys who are going to come up big in this season for the K-League.
I think one guy that Vassal already mentioned for the bench warmer would be Gabriel Kaplansky.
Okay.
And again, like I said, anytime somebody can take over a team and they're scoring, I think you got to give him, because he's valuable to his team. You take him out, I'm sure Vassal can maybe agree, they might not be as successful or put up as many points. So I would look at MVP as him, and I give it also Emmanuel Chorakis. If you speak to the St. Louis Savage players, they will tell you that majority of their success is because of their goalie. So they're 4-1 mainly because of him, and I think that's something you have to recognize.
You're not allowed to pick anybody from the bench warmers, all right?
Good.
Okay.
I'm going to mix between 2 guys, then 2 buddies of mine. Alex Lutfi for the Black Clouds. Like I said, he's really good. He's an offensive machine and very fast, a lot of cardio. And Ryan Good from the Mighty Ducks, who he has tremendous hands, playmaking, and he's gotten a little bigger too, so he could use his size, but he hasn't lost any of the mobility in his game. So I would expect him to set up his line mates really well and definitely be in the top 3 scorers this summer.
All right, final thoughts on this K-League before we get out of here?
St. Louis Savage, we see their stats and everything, and I know the guys as well, so I hope they don't take this the wrong way, but I don't know, they just seem like a team that might be a little bit fluff right now, and a lot of speed and everything, but come playoff time, it's all about experience, and I don't know if they have that experience to really. I know they went toe-to-toe with a couple of teams. They lost to Fat Roy, I think, a couple of seasons ago, so maybe they have that experience, but I'm looking at the names, and I think Mighty Ducks might be a better contender than St. Louis Savage. That's what I would see from the top, and probably a team that might end up taking it all.
Sorry, if I started smirking halfway through, it's not that I think Rayhan is saying something hilarious. It's because Eagle at Master Control here has started playing Brass Bonanza, which is to tell us that the time is almost out. The Hartford Whalers goal song, for that song that played every time the Hartford Whalers scored in NHL 94. You might recognize it from there too. We're going to keep it rolling though. K-League, final thoughts before we get out of here, Vasil?
Now the contenders, the biggest contenders I see, we didn't mention at all. Used Parts, one of the most veteran teams in the league.
Okay.
They have number 2 in all-time scoring, Chris Calicu, who's the best playmaker I've ever seen.
Okay.
Really good touch on the ball, really long reach. So
pretty good piece to have in the K-League.
Right. A lot of veteran guys as well. Not that much speed on that team, but a good defensive core with the Van Wyck brothers, Wes and Peter. And another veteran guy on there, Rob Stanfill, is a really good two-way center, could help them a lot. If only, I would hope they could find one guy to complement Chris Calicu's playmaking ability, and if they do, their experience is going to carry them right through the top here.
All right, fantastic. Well, guys, great job. I think this is a good format. I think we're going to keep going like this, and I think I'll keep you guys along for the ride. All the players that we've discussed in prior weeks and this week, guys, we love the feedback. Keep it coming. I know we're getting a lot of feedback from a lot of different places. We're all getting it. We're really happy with the feedback. It seems like you guys are enjoying what we're doing. But if you do or you don't, either way, reach out to us. It's the only way we'll get better, so we really appreciate it. Places where you can reach out to us. At MBHL_official is the official MBHL Twitter account of the MBHL. Sorry, that was awful. At Rayhan MBHL, at Vasil MBHL. It's been on the screen the whole time, so you can find us there. You can't find me on Twitter, but you can message me on Facebook or whatever. You can find me on Twitter too. I'm sure you can find me at my other account. But all that to say, that's it from us here at the third period. We hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back next week, but until then,
good night, MBHL. Something new next week for sure, I promise.
All right. What's going on with the mics?
What's up, boys?